They don't let you feel the consequences. Well, at what point, when there is no pain on anything and you don't have to ever do anything, there's no consequence, everything is paid for, at what point you're like, I don't care, whatever. Here's your choice, America. Here are the correct principles, just on this one. Here's the problem. Kids are fat. Don't tell me that Americans aren't fat. I mean, have you ever been to, like, Disneyland? Whew, look at us. I like it, but it ain't healthy. Kids are fat. So here's your solutions. Solution A, turn off the TV. My mom, when I was 8 years old, she actually came in and she said, turn off the TV. It's sunny. I lived in Seattle. It was like the one sunny day in like the first 10 years of life. And she said, turn off the TV and go outside and play. When's the last time you said that? Turn off the TV and go outside and play. Don't do it now. It's a bad idea now. Video games. Turn off the video games. Let our kids play games other than cup stacking in school. Oh, you know what? Kickball is good. He might get hit in the face with a ball. Yes, I was on the receiving end of the ball to the face when I was a kid all the time. Yeah, that happens. It's called kickball. You're going to fall down and go boo-boo. You might actually fall off a swing. Ow, it's going to hurt. Get up. When are we going to start teaching our kids that? Let them play games. How about this one? Can your child, ask your child this, an apple a day keeps the, see if they know it. See if they've ever heard it. Keeps the doctor away. Oh, why do you think they said that? Fruit, good for you. Here's another idea. Solution A, my solutions, clowns don't make health food. Just a safety tip. 5, common sense and be a parent. That's our biggest problem. We're not being parents anymore. You remember when somebody in your neighborhood growing up, you'd be doing something, screwing around, and somebody would say, knock it off, I know your father. You want me to call your father? And you'd be like, no. Now do you say that? No, because most likely you don't know the person in your neighborhood. Most likely, that person, if you say something, this is what really it is. Your kid, that kid will most likely say to you, you're not the boss of me. You don't have a right to say that. You can't say that to me. My dad has an attorney, and that kid's dad does have an attorney. And that kid, when you call up and say, hey, what the hell is wrong with your son? You know what he'll say? Who are you to say that to my son? Teach a man correct principles. Gang, we're in this together. We're in this together. Who am I to say that to your son? Your son's being a snot-nosed brat, and if it's mine, you have a right to say that to me. Hey, I just want to let you know your son was doing this. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. So, there's my solution, but here's the government solution. Solution B, ban all the sodas and fries. Number 2, limit playground stuff. Take the swings down. They might hurt themselves. They can cup stack. Big fatty fat fatsos can cup stack. Define food deserts. No, kids, that's not desserts, that's deserts. Believe it or not, the government says we have them. It's where only McDonald's are. It's a food desert. We've got to have a fresh fruit stand someplace. Yeah, that's the problem. 4th step is sue somebody. And 5th, demonize companies like McDonald's. If you don't take control of your kids, if you don't become a parent, if you don't say, turn off the TV, give me the video game, go outside and play a game. Oh, Johnny got a scraped knee. Son, I love you. You're fine. You're going to get a scraped knee. Now go back out and play. You just stop with the attorneys. Stop. If you don't do these things, then the government must do these things. Those are your correct principles. Do these or they will. Now, it is up to me to teach my son not to play video games all day long. It's up to me to teach him, don't eat 500 Oreos. It's up to me, say, don't be a dirtbag and look up oral sex in the dictionary when you're looking up opaque. Opaque, it's a word. Look it up. We need to restore the principles in our own lives. We need to teach ourselves the correct principles and then pass them on to our children. What one generation tolerates, the other embraces. Stop worrying about your responsibility. You pick up your rights and your responsibilities will automatically restore themselves because you would never, if you were doing this, you and your children would never let a government do that to you. Teach a man correct principles and let him govern himself. Do it today. Back in a second. It starts with a nudge, then it turns to a shove. And in countries like the Soviet Union, then it ends with a shot. If you can't get people to comply one way, then you have to just keep kicking it up. Progressives want to, I guess, progress past this idea of a constitutional republic, even though they won't tell you that out loud. It's been happening in California, where we are, since the early 1900s. Now progressivism is being taught as part of the state's political history. Brian Kennedy is the president of Claremont Institute, educational institute dedicated to recovering America's first principles. And Brian, let me go back to this, teach a man correct principles and let him govern himself. That is the antithesis of progressivism, is it not?
Well, the progressives never really wanted to steer too clear from the U.S. Constitution. They knew that they had to at least say they were on the side of the Constitution.
Right.
Because they knew if they were against it, people would rebel from them.
Right.
So it's even worse in a way. They say they're for the Constitution,
right,
then they do the exact opposite.
But now we're starting to see a point to where for instance, you would have never said that you were a socialist. And now it's like, okay, so big deal. So, okay, yes, it's socialism. You would have never said that, wait, I can't find that in the Constitution. And now you have many people in Congress, progressives, saying, okay, so it's not in the Constitution. You just had a guy running for, Congress in Massachusetts that said just the other day, okay, it's not in the Constitution, but the Constitution is wrong. I mean,
the lack of respect for the Constitution is profound. But, Woodrow Wilson, who you've talked about many times, Wilson wrote on socialism, and he didn't see that his view of progressive democracy, he didn't really think of it as a republic, but his view of progressive democracy that he wanted for America, he said was essentially the same as socialism.
When I am looking at the world today and I'm trying to project out, okay, we keep going down this road,
right?
People want to, they're living in the now, which is you can't,
right?
That's the secret of progressivism.
Right.
You have to look at how it plays out over time. We are losing, somebody said to me the other day, and I can't remember who it was, that America is not a building, it's not even a document, it's an idea.
Right.
And once the idea is gone, the country is gone.
Right.
We're not even teaching the idea anymore, are we?
No, we've forgotten America's first principles. The elites have. Let's be careful about this.
Yes.
The elites have forgotten or rejected America's first principles. But the American people still subscribe to them. They live them every day. They go fight our wars, they go run our businesses, they raise our families. As bad as the elites may be, like Obama and others within the Democratic left establishment, the everyday people are still pretty good. Aristotle talks about the regime shaping the character of the people. The character of the American people is still pretty good. They look at all the things you've said, in your popularity, and they love that stuff because they agree with it.
Because it rings true to them.
Right.
Most people didn't know this stuff. I didn't know this stuff, and so we started, really researching it. But it feels true. It's one of those things that you're like, oh yeah, that's right. Now I know why I believe that. But that's what concerns me. With illegals coming in and immigrants coming in, there's no one teaching the immigrants. The immigrants, the ones who are coming here legally, they usually get it more than the Americans that have been living here their whole life. But illegals, there's no system to teach them at all. And our schools are teaching everything is upside down. It's the next generation. This is really the last generation. If we don't, do you agree with me?
If we don't get this right, absolutely. Look at California where we are today. We have a large multi-ethnic society where, because of high taxes and heavy government regulation, we've been driving businesses out of the state. Upward mobility for all those new people, all those new immigrants, that's going away.
Right.
And so you'll have an uneducated group of people who've not heard about America's first principles, who can't get a job, and if they do find a job, it's menial labor. And you'll look at them and you'll try to craft a society, the liberals think, that can somehow employ them and teach them. Today, they're not being able to employ them. We have huge unemployment here because we've driven out business. And we have a third of our kids who can't even describe what the country looks like or how it should operate.
It's amazing to me, because I've always loved California. California is such a great place, just so beautiful. And it always amazes me that every time I'm here, I think, oh, I'd love to do business here. I'd love to live here.
Right.
Not in a million years would I live here. As a businessman, you cannot survive here. At what point does California go, hey, Jerry Brown, I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, I'm not saying that anything about Meg Whitman,
right.
you know,
right.
But Jerry Brown, really? I mean, that's really the option here. Is there a tipping point in this state? Will anything wake this state up to say, hey, we're on the wrong track?
We'll find out in November. They have a pretty clear choice from a business person who seems to know what it takes to create jobs to Jerry Brown, who is a example of progressive big government bureaucrat.
Well,
it's one choice or the other. I think we're at the tipping point where Californians will actually go do the right thing. It's a beautiful state. People want to live here.
They do.
But there are huge problems that if you don't fix them, it will become unlivable. And the problem is people around the country, it's not as if they can simply let California go. California will drag the rest of the country down if you don't get it right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, believe me, I know. And let me tell you something. America, or California, and you may look at this as, I shouldn't say this because maybe that you would elect Jerry Brown for this. I'd love to move here. I'd love to base my business, 40 jobs based right here in California. I love it. But it's crazy to do business here. At some point, you have to say, hey, you know what we're doing isn't really, it's almost like it's the failed policies of the past. Back in a second.
Great.